My name is Sandra, and I'm the Customer Marketing Manager here at Loxo. I'm going to be joined today by Natalia Bullett, who's going to walk you through how to understand the stories that your job reports are trying to tell you. So reporting is a really, really big topic, and we can't possibly cover all of it in a half-hour session.
That would be
So
great, but
we're going to be focusing in on one specific thing, and those are your job reports, your most important job reports, the insights you can get from them, and the actions that you can take based on your insights. We're not going to have a live Q&A session today, but please do feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A, and we'll answer the most relevant ones in the email we send out. So we'll be sending out a follow-up email probably on Monday that will include the recording from this webinar, a cheat sheet to show you how to build all these reports we're going to be talking about today, and answers to your questions. So with that, I'd love to get started. Natalia, take it away.
I'm so excited to be here, Sandra. Thank you for inviting me. Just a little background about myself. I started with Loxo as a strategic account manager. So some of you might have been my clients. So hi, if you're there. This is quite exciting. I really like reports. I feel like I've learned a lot from the moment that I joined. I'm currently now in our marketing team with all of these efforts of being able to do these kinds of presentations and help Sandra along the process. So yeah, we've got like a very nice and special session planned for you. Even though we're not going to be running like a live Q&A, we are collecting your questions. Towards the end, we're going to make it a little bit fun. We're going to have a Kahoot. I have prepared some really fun questions for you that are fully based on what I'll be showing you today. And if you don't want to put your name, you don't have to. You can just pick an avatar and you can choose whatever name you want. But I think that's going to make it just really interesting. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight in and I'm going to share my screen on our Loxo page. Sandra, just give me a thumbs up. Can you see this? You got it. Okay, wonderful. So reports on Loxo, or just general reports that you could actually start using and thinking of when you're a recruiter, could be so broad. There are so many different types of reports that you can actually create to start telling a story. But the reality is, and a lot of the conversations that I've had with customers in the past, is that you're wanting to do so many activities that you start creating reports first, and then you start giving tasks to recruiters, maybe in your team or to yourself, and you start feeling like you've got way too many things to start to actually collect so the reports seem accurate. Today, what I decided to do was create a very standard but simple reporting board for you on Loxo that has really good, just like general reports that you can start telling a story on, because we don't want to do a report and then have to have everyone in our team creating these activities so the reports work. We want the reports to be a living and breathing object that just starts gathering this information on and on. Okay. So over here, to just lay the ground a little bit, reports on Loxo, when you're on here, there's three things that you can do. At the top, if you're an admin or if you have reporting capabilities, you'll see that there's a blue plus button. Over here, you can do reports, goals, and if you see this faint gray line, you'll see also boards. The difference between each one of them is quite simple. Reports are going to measure performance, which is things that actually have happened in your system because you've told the system they're happening. And the second one is going to be goals. As recruiters, we might want to be able to track, for example, how we perform or what we want to achieve in the week in question or the month in question or in the quarter, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say, for example, if I'm a recruiter and I know that I'm hitting 40 interviews scheduled a month, but I actually want to up my game and I want that to be 50. So I can create a goal that's also going to help me track the percentage towards fulfilling that goal. But what we're going to be mostly focusing on is going to be reports, because we're going to be talking about factual data, things that have been happening in our system or that we have been doing as recruiters with our team. Last but not least is boards, which is so simple. This is a board. A board is a collection of reports and goals that look like a tile of just all of this type of information that's so great in terms of just being able to tell that story. Okay, so I've told you all the little details that you need to know as a basis for us to go into detail about these reports. Okay, so I've personally created this board based on reports for jobs. So there are a lot of building blocks when it comes to giving information about your jobs. You can take a look at the whole job list that you're actually working on. You can then narrow it down and see the candidates that you have within each one of your jobs or as a whole. But you can also start taking a look at the activities that you are doing for each one of your jobs. And I'm going to be showing how you can actually take a look at these one by one from macro into those smaller, more detailed reports. Okay. So as you can see at the top, I really like to keep it simple. These are the numbers that paint that big picture for us as a team, because maybe you're in-house or maybe you're an agency, but I think it's really important for all of us to be on the same page. You're not just a cog in like the entire machine, like you're actually an entire team trying to build something bigger. And I think that being able to see this as a whole, oh, we're actually working on 510 different vacancies, live jobs as a team, is actually going to be a better picture for you to understand how your team is performing. I actually need to make a little parenthesis here because this is our test environment. 510 live vacancies is a ridiculous number, at least what I would think. So I think that this would be like a little bit overwhelming, but just know that these numbers are going to be varying a little bit, okay? They're definitely going to look different when you start creating your own reports. Okay, so we've got over here live jobs. These are the active jobs under the status of active within our Loxo or within our system. Then we've got our warm candidates for our live jobs. So anyone that we're already in conversations with, not the people that we've longlisted or shortlisted or we're trying to cold outreach. These are people who we're already in email communications or talking on the phone or scheduling interviews with. This is just a really good number for you to know, like, how many people are you juggling at the same time as a team? After that, we also have another warm candidate category, which is the total number of applicants within these jobs. Right now, because we're in a test environment, I added just one person, so it would actually have a number, but this could be like way bigger depending on what job boards you use and the kind of people that you're getting into your system and are applying to your jobs. Last but not least is our days to fill. And this one you want to base it on your closed jobs. So as a team, it's quite important to know that when you create and you open a job, the moments that you either fill the position because you get someone hired or maybe you lost the job to a competitor, it's very important that you close that position to keep this days to fill as accurate as possible. Because you as a team, you might have this as a selling point maybe for companies that you work with. Or if you're an in-house recruiter, it might be very important for you to be able to go back to your hiring managers and be like, okay, on average, it's going to take us around 37 days to be able to get you that person for your team. Okay, so big picture, very important for all of us to be on the same page. And then we're going to go a layer deeper. Okay, so staying within our live jobs, I have also created 3 reports that are related to jobs. So these 3 on the left, we've got our open jobs per month, our live jobs by company, and then we've got our live jobs per team owner. Why are these 3 reports so important? First things off, if we want to understand when we're going to be the busiest during the year, it is great to be able to look at it at a glance and know that maybe during the summer months, we are going to be very busy. So maybe during these ones, we can start ramping up. We can start having conversations with potential candidates because we know that there's going to be a vacancy coming up. We can start maybe even cleaning up our data so we have a living and breathing database of candidates that we know could be potentially really good candidates for us to bring forward and just focus on what's really important in this particular case. So open jobs per month, as you can see, I selected it from November all the way until the end of this year. So last November until this November. And bear in mind that these reports, don't worry, we will be sending you how to create them, because I'm supposing that there's a lot of questions about this. So I won't be necessarily showing you how to make them. I want to tell you more the story behind them, okay? We'll be sharing with you the deliverable at the end, so on Monday. Okay, next one up is going to be our live jobs by company. This is so important. It could be because, let's say that you are an agency and you're working with a lot of different companies, but you don't want to put all of your eggs in the same basket. Why? Because maybe this big green company that you're dedicating all your time to is maybe having conversations with a competitor. You don't want to put all of your eggs in the same basket. You also want to understand which are your second, third, fourth customers, like clients that you're actually working with, that you can start investing more time in. But everything is very time consuming, time dependent. So you need to understand, like, okay, should we actually keep nurturing this relationship? Can we keep nurturing, and maybe we can get someone else to start focusing on the second larger accounts so we can land and expand these accounts. This is why it's so important to always keep an eye on our live jobs by company, because they're our most important clients. Okay, next up is going to be our live jobs per team owner. When you look at this, what do you think? Like, I personally, when I see this, I'm like, poor Dan, he is overwhelmed and he has way too many jobs to be taken care of. He is not sleeping. So if I were a manager, I would probably just think, is like, okay, Dan, how are you doing? Do you feel like you're coping okay? Do you want us to maybe take a look at what you're actually working on? Or have you been forgetting to close the vacancies that you're creating? Are you actively working on those 405 vacancies? Or should we actually go to Greg, Natalia, Palmer, and other team members so we can redistribute these vacancies? That is what you can do with your live jobs per team owner. This is very crucial if you want to start having a better balance across the team. And if maybe you start understanding that you have an industry that you're working on higher, but maybe the way that you're working as a team can be a little bit more redistributed. And it depends a lot. Okay, next thing's up. So now we've spoken about our live jobs. Now we're going to go a little bit more in detail when it comes to candidates, which is that additional layer from our jobs, about the building blocks of our jobs in general. Okay, so we've got our warm candidates and we've got our total applicants. So we have a total of 71 people in here that we've had conversations with or are about to have conversations with. From those 70 candidates that I know that are live candidates, it's very easy to just be like, okay, we're dealing with it. It's completely fine. But the reality is that we actually need to understand, where are these 70 candidates and are we actively nurturing this relationship? With this pie chart, which I think is just a simple pie chart, sometimes the basics are the best things. You can understand, okay, so I've been screening 16 candidates right now. I also have 27 candidates that I've submitted to hiring managers. And then I've got 27 in interview stages. As a recruiter, I would want my purple submitted section for my pie charts to be quite minimal. I don't want candidates to be stuck in submitted, because that to me means that they're in limbo. Either I'm screening them and I'm taking them into interviewing, but I feel like the submitted section should be quite a quick pass by of those candidates so we can keep it at a minimum. So these should be a little bit more redistributed if you want to keep an eye on it. I think that a pie chart, when it comes to just like understanding where your warm candidates are, is a very big win. Okay, next one up, we've got our warm candidates for team owner. So just like we were seeing this one of the live jobs by each one of our team owners, we also have over here the warm candidates. So who owns each one of these candidates? Obviously, we've got Loxo Learning over here because it is our platform to be able to do these training sessions. But we've got Dan, who has 40 candidates that are warm, and he's juggling that relationship along with the jobs that he's taking care of. He's also talking to those 40 candidates if he wants to get them hired. Then we've got Greg, and then you can see that graph keeps dropping down as we head into Christy. This actually just gives you a good scope in terms of the capacity of each one of your team members and to just measure the temperature to see if everyone is okay. Okay. Next one up, we've got applicants per live job. Obviously, we only have one applicant over here for the purposes of today's webinar. But if you want to create a graph that shows you how many applications you need to review for each one of your single jobs, this is the graph that you will need. So you'll have number of applicants, which is the graph over here. And as you can see at the bottom, you have Loxo software engineer. Then you have another one that could be like a product manager. And you have 50 applicants for that one that you need to go in and review, action. Either you think that they're a good fit or they're not, so you can reject them or move them forward. So it's a decision-making graph over here that you should always keep an eye on, because if we start exceeding those numbers in this particular graph over here, then we're going to start feeling overwhelmed. And then all of these metrics at the top are going to look very different to what we would want them to look. Okay, last but not least, this is one of my favorite ones, which is the candidates per source tool. So as recruiters, you're always trying to find different ways of finding those ideal candidates, those unicorns, what your hiring managers are asking you to be able to bring forward into their team. And we're not seeing like just one tool come through here. I feel like we keep getting bombarded by different tools that would, I don't know, magically help us find those candidates. The reality is that once you actually put it into work and you start seeing it as a graph, you understand what's actually working the best for you or for your team if you're working as a whole. So clearly we've got manual. So let's omit manual because we had to add obviously like characters into this side of things. But the second one would be Loxo source. So Loxo source is clearly working. If you're in Loxo, it's already part of your plan, which is great because it means that you're making use of the 1.2 billion potential candidates that you could have from Loxo source. But if you see over here, you also have job board 2. Job board 2 is clearly performing quite well for you and for your team. So if I were a hiring manager, I would be happy to keep investing in this job board. But I would probably reconsider job board 1 over here, which technically has only given me 2 potential candidates. So this is a great graph for you to be able to see where you want to allocate your budget, your candidates per source tool. This is a nice and easy, very simple way of seeing it that way. Okay, next one up. This is when it gets a little bit more detailed. So as you can see, I've got my general number on the left, and then I've got my week by week on the right. So this is when we start taking a look at the activities for every single one of our workflow stages. So we've got screening, we've got the candidates submitted, we've got the interviews, and of course, we've got our hired for the last month and all of the emails that have been happening for us as a team. So one by one, and I like to usually say that this works very much as a cascade effect. If you start working like strongly at the beginning of your pipeline, it's going to improve your chances of finding that ideal candidate throughout. So maybe understanding that 5 screening calls booked at the beginning is maybe not going to be enough. You need to increase that number as a team. When you take it into a week by week basis, this is when you start understanding, okay, so during the week of the 13th of October, we were quite low. We only had 1. But on the week of the 20th, we had 4. So there was a spike, which means that maybe we're going to be able to submit more candidates along the way in the following week because we're screening people. We're actively warming up these candidates, talking to them about the potential jobs that we could maybe get them in for. Okay. Next one up, we've got submitted. So we've got 7 over here, but then what does this actually tell me? So candidates submitted to the hiring managers per week. Why do we have a week that's completely blank? This is a conversation that you can have internally, or maybe you know that there was an out of office. But if there's an out of office, is there something that we can do? Should we do a handover process? Are there maybe some candidates that didn't actually get reached out to? Or what happened here? This is very important for us to start asking ourselves these questions. And then why is this one so low, given that we've been actually coming from a little bit of a higher point? Okay, interviews scheduled for the past month. We want to keep this at a quite a high number because that is just going to increase, obviously, the possibilities of getting a candidate hired, right? So as you can see, these ones are actually in 3 colors, but they could look very much like this, which is a split of the people that you're going to be interviewing. And over here, you've got the interviews. So we've got Greg, who managed to do 3 interviews, 3 candidates interviewed for the week of the 20th. Then we've got over here Natalia, who got 3, and then Dan got 2. So this could be a conversation in terms of if the candidates were there, was there something that happened in between that we didn't actually get to the same number? Dan, did you understand your instructions? Do you feel overwhelmed? Was the admin too much? If maybe the number 3 is like our general target over here. Candidates hired for the past month. This is just a nice one to have, in my opinion. It boosts the morale. It's so important to just keep that number at the top of your mind and understand, okay, we've been hiring at a regular basis. You can obviously tweak these so it's not like for the past month. If you want to see it as the past quarter or the past year, you can definitely do it that way as well. It is very much business dependent or according to how you want to see it. Okay. I'm just going to let that sink in because I feel like I've been talking to you a lot about reporting. And I'm going to talk very briefly about emails. So emails are so important in the world of recruitment. And we all know that being flagged as spam is a big no. We don't want that. And just like the rules and regulations have shifted quite a bit. So understanding as well the patterns of email deliverability for you and for all of your team is crucial. And having a report that shows you this in particular can help you and your team avoid being flagged as spam. For example, I've created this particular report that shows us on a weekly basis the amount of emails that we have been sending as a whole, as a team. So if I were to toggle on top of an individual graph over here, I would actually see, okay, so Learning Loxo has sent 1 email, but if there were multiple emails over here, I would probably see Natalia sent 300, Sandra sent 50, et cetera, et cetera. And then we would actually understand the bigger picture of, ooh, Natalia's sending way more emails than she actually should. And she's actually getting us, like she could be putting us in the red zone for being flagged as spam. And we don't want that. We want to stay within that 10% margin across the week. And if we do want to start increasing our reputation, we want to slightly increase, but stay within that 10% margin on a week by week basis, okay? So this graph, super important for everyone to have, okay? And then last but not least, our candidate progression. For the past 3 months, you might want to do it for a little bit longer, but this is such an important graph for all recruiters to have in general to understand where the bottlenecks are, where our drop-off points are. So if we were to just holistically look at this, for example, we would get a big understanding that there's quite a drop-off between our short list and our outbound. Why are we not pushing enough candidates into our outbound section? Should we actually be just checking if we're doing like manual emails, individual emails one by one? That's why they're not going into the outbound section. Are we just moving them straight into a screening stage? What is happening over here? But there's such a big drop off that when you start reading this progression chart, this is when you start understanding the bigger picture. Okay, I've rambled a lot. I feel like I've spoken so much, Sandra, about what reports are like over here at Loxo. There's definitely a lot that you can do. I just wanted to give you a general overview about how these reports can tell a story, not just be numbers, and how one kind of relates to the next from like a bigger picture to a smaller, more detailed view. But yeah, I'll give it to you now.
That was fantastic, Natalia. Thank you so much. I know we had a lot of questions in the chat about individual reports, how we build them, whether it's possible to do reports of this kind or another in Loxo. That's something that's outside of the scope of the webinar we're doing today. But I'd like to remind you, and I posted in the chat, but I'm going to do it again. We do have a daily drop-in training session almost every day. And there you can ask individual questions, including about how to build the reports you'd like to see. So I'm dropping that link in there again. You're welcome to sign up for those anytime if we didn't answer your question today and if you don't get an answer in the follow-up. I'd also like to remind you that we have help right inside of your Loxo platform. If you click on the question mark at the bottom left of your Loxo platform, we have automated help that's extremely useful. And if you don't find your answer there, you can ask to be connected with a human who can follow up for you. Okay, so we would like to move on to the Kahoot section now. I don't know if you've used Kahoot before. It's like an online quiz show. So we're going to show you a QR code that you can scan if you would like to participate in the game itself. If you don't want to bother going through that, you'll still see the questions on the board. Feel free to put your answers into the chat here, and you can play along that way.
Yeah, so to do, if you have your phone with you, just make sure that you grab your camera or the app that you use to usually just like scan QRs and go ahead and scan this QR code. You can also join by going into this website, so www.kahoot.it, and then this is going to be your game pin. This is so exciting. I love seeing people just starting to join in. Okay, we'll wait for a few more seconds. I also need to apologize, but I've been coming out from a pretty messy cold, so I don't know how my voice was, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. Okay, awesome. I see so many of you. Mike, Scott, Geeks, Yodis. Nice. I'm loving also the little avatars of people big, or the ones that we get like randomly selected. Okay, cool. Let's actually get started because I feel like this is going to be so much fun. We're going to be reviewing what we literally just did. So let's try and keep it like nice and cool. So yeah, let's begin. It's going to be super, super quick. Why did that open it? Okay. Okay, so the first question is a true or false. This report helps keep workloads balanced and gives managers a heads up when someone's hitting their limit. Is it true, false? This is a very simple one. It was at the top of the reporting that we just did. Okay, we've got lots of answers coming in. 5 more seconds. Nice. Okay. So all in all, what this report actually helps us view is which one of our team members is at capacity. So as we saw at the beginning, Dan from our team, he did not sleep. He does not sleep. He was working on like 400 different vacancies. And as managers, maybe this will actually help us understand how we want to just spread out that workload. Okay, wonderful. Okay, let's take a look. Who's at the top? Who was the fastest to answer? Elsie. Done. Okay, next question up. This one's going to be a quiz and it's a multiple selection, so you can select multiple, okay? Why is it important to constantly check the candidate progression funnel? Okay, multiple selection here to see which recruiter logged the most activities, to quickly find the number of live jobs, to easily spot if something is off in our process, to know where to focus our time and resources to improve conversion. You get to pick multiple answers on this one. And then don't forget to click submit at the bottom of your screen, okay? 3 seconds. Okay, nice. Yeah, the majority of you got it right. So what's important about constantly checking that progression funnel, which is the upside down triangle, is to understand and how to easily spot if something is off in your process. So where are those bottlenecks? We can just grab that magnifying glass, start asking questions, and get a better understanding for it. And you can also know where to focus your time and resources to improve the conversion. Because if you are actually looking at that specific area, you could probably say, it's working for us. Maybe we should reinvest in here. Or maybe we're actually not sending enough emails or progressing our candidates enough into outreach or emailing them actively. So this is really good both ways. Well done. Okay, who do we have at the top? JT, kicks and G. Amazing. Let's see. Next question is quiz. Why is it crucial to monitor your own and your team's weekly email sent in the past month? I made a big focus on that one in our webinar just now. But why is it important to understand this graph and just always keep an eye on it individually or as a team? Nice. I like to see it. I love that you paid attention in this one because it is so important. It is to avoid email spikes that could get the company's domain flagged as spam. We don't want that. We want to avoid that. While working as a team on our email domain is crucial for our everyday work. So that's very good. Okay, JT, nice. Well done. Next one up, true or false? To identify which pipeline stage holds the most warm candidates, I take a look at this pie chart. Would you? Yes? No? Warm candidates, screen, submitted, interviewing. This was one of the top graphs that I showed you at the top. Okay, 3 more seconds. Nice. Yes, it is true. So this is going to show you the warm candidates at a very quick overview. You could also use the progression graph, of course, to be able to understand that a little bit better. But if you're just wanting to quickly glance through your reports or through your reporting boards, where you need to focus or just understand where your warm candidates are, and if there's anything you need to quickly action, that's the one that you would usually go for. Amazing. Oh, Liz is coming in. Okay, nice. Next one up, quiz. What budget-friendly insights can you get from the candidates per source tool report? This is the report that I'm talking about. So you can see you've got manual, people from Loxo source, from your job board 2, candidate referral, other, job board 1. Nice. Answers are coming in. We've got 10 more seconds. Almost done. Well done. It shows which sourcing channels are actually paying off in both the way that we are investing in them and they're actually giving us the positive ROI, and they're paying off because we are investing our time in them and we're also seeing the right candidates come through. Really well done. Scoreboard. JT is still at the top. Well done. Okay, easy one, true or false. This graph is a great way to spot trends early. If submissions go up, interviews and hires usually follow. This is going to be the candidates submitted to hiring managers per week. So if we're submitting more candidates on a week-by-week basis, should we actually be able to see more interviews come through in the following weeks? Yes? No? Nice. Yeah, the majority of you got it right. This is really good. Displaying total metrics at the top of the dashboard is important for providing. This is the one that I showed you right at the top. Why is it important? For the big picture of what you are working on as a team? Is it for visual appeal and easier navigation within the dashboard? Is it because of insights into individual performance on a day-to-day basis? Or is it because of historical data comparisons across multiple quarters? Nice. All answers are coming through. Oh, I love this. This is really good. Yeah, it's just like a very clear understanding for it. And I'm very glad that we didn't get that many over here, because as great as each one of these metrics is, over here, just like being able to visually click into it and then open additional graphs, we're actually going to start layering them. So we have that general macro at the top, and at the bottom, we have the detailed view if we want to go more in depth. But yeah, the big picture of what you are working on as a team is the right answer. Nice, JT, still at the top. And then we've got Liz coming in and Jess. Let's see who the top 3 are going to be. We're actually at 9 out of 12. That's actually 11. So let's see. This graph is only helpful for evaluating individual recruiter performance. Only helpful for evaluating individual recruiter performance? True? False? 5 more seconds. Nice. Well done. That was a trick question. I'm sorry. That was mean of me. So I added the word only. Yes. So the reality is that you can do much more reading of the report if you start taking a look at this kind of data. So what that graph actually shows you is, okay, so as a team, we are actually doing all of these interviews, but at the same time, okay, do we need to focus on more? Okay, amazing. JT still at the top. 2 more questions. This one is multi-select, so remember you can pick various questions. Which of the following actions can you take to proactively improve pipeline health in the coming weeks? You can select more than one, don't forget. And then when you're done, click submit at the bottom of your screen. You can redistribute live jobs from overloaded owners. You can focus on top sourcing tools like Loxo Source or Job Board 2. You can increase screening and submission to boost next week's interview volume, or you can adjust the overall days to fill metrics to match the latest closed job data. Okay, let's see. Nice. Okay, so you got the majority right. The last one was a trick question, a trick answer, I'm sorry, because you can't manually update the days to fill. That would be great. If not, we'll probably say that we're taking less than a week to fill all of our vacancies. But this one is automatically collected the information from what you are doing and how you're performing as a team. So redistribute your live jobs from overloaded owners. You can focus on your top sourcing tool so you can keep reinvesting and taking a look at that. And you can increase the screening and submissions to boost next week's interview volume. Really well done, guys. Liz, well done. Okay. True or false? We've got, you tell the executive team you need 40 more jobs because 550 looks not okay. This does not count. This was a joke question. So yeah, there's no points for this one. 5 more seconds and then this last one. Yeah, false, definitely. Do you want more work, guys? You work hard enough. I feel like recruiters, you are in constant overload of work. But yeah, this is really good. Let's take a look at our podium and we take a look at our winners over here. 3rd place, we've got G. 2nd place, JT. And then 1st place, Liz. Well done. I really hope you enjoyed this. I think that this was like a nice, fun way of doing a bit of a webinar that's reporting heavy, that can be a little bit boring, make it a little bit more fun. But I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, Sandra, for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much for showing us this, Natalia. And thank you for everyone who came. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you at the next one, which will be in January. This is our last customer webinar of the year. So see you in January. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.